big update that's coming in at this hour is that the India-China bilateral meet is currently underway. Remember, the timing of when this G20 foreign ministers meeting is happening is very, very crucial. Even though the G20 was initially formed for economic reasons, the timing of when this is happening in the backdrop of the Russia-Ukraine war becomes extremely crucial. Let's also bring in our managing editor, Zaka Jacob, who's been keeping a close eye on all those developments. Zaka, this is one of the most watched out meets, which is the India-China bilateral. As I said, even though when the G20 was formed for economic reasons, but today when all of this is happening is in the backdrop of the war. There are concerns at the LAC as well. In the backdrop of all of this, how crucial is this bilateral?
Oh, it's hugely important because this is the first time the new foreign minister of China, Qin Gang, has come to India. The first time that he's meeting Dr. Jaishankar, the Indian External Affairs Minister. And there is a lot to talk about. The situation of the line of actual control has not come back to the pre-April 2020 status quo as it existed. China had unilaterally at that time changed the status quo on the LAC. There were 7 friction points. There were over a dozen co-commander level talks that happened to find a resolution to those friction points. And out of the 7 friction points, 5 have seen some form of disengagement. It hasn't gone back to normalcy as yet, as we saw before April 2020. But there are still 2 points where there is still, a friction that's going on between Indian and Chinese troops. In fact, the External Affairs Minister had said previously in the run-up to the G20 as well, and in other contexts, that the India-China relationship is not normal at this time, and it cannot go back to normal until the situation at the line of actual control is resolved. He, in fact, also went on to add in that interview that he had given to Smita Prakash a few days ago, that this is the largest peacetime mobilization that we've had at the line of actual control. So until that situation is resolved, and I'm not sure how much we are to that, but there will be definitely talk about that. But I think there is something moving, at least as far as the needle is concerned on this issue, because last week we had the WMCC meeting, the first in-person WMCC that happened in over 3 years since the COVID pandemic happened. And also, overall, we are seeing a slightly softer tone, if you will, from China. They have similar disputes with Japan. There is a little more of a softish tone with Japan. China and Australia, who have traded barbs at each other for the better part of the last 2 or 3 years. Suddenly, in the last 3-4 weeks, or about a couple of months or so, there have been reconciliatory noises, especially since the new Australian government came into office. So I think there is something that is going on. Whether or not this overall sort of tempering of Chinese statements and actions, whether that will result or whether that will reflect in what we're seeing at the line of actual control, that I'm not sure. That we'll have to wait and see. But I think it is important for Dr. Jaishankar and Qin Gang to get off on the right foot, because Qin Gang is going to be here for better or for worse, at least for the next 5 years. And Dr. Jaishankar is very much entrenched as the foreign minister of India. In fact, he's managed to create a bit of a constituency and a fan following for himself, if you will. So it's important that at that level, at the level of the foreign ministers, there is some kind of a working equation. Yes, there are issues. There are outstanding issues, like I said, the LAC. Friction points have not been resolved yet. There are other outstanding issues as well. But I think, as they say in sports, a good start is half the job done.
So, Zaka, there are 2 important issues to focus. As you rightly pointed out, this quote-unquote softening of stand by Beijing is one. But compare that to the ground reality at the line of actual control. We've been all seeing, and we put out the satellite images here on our channel as well, as far as this build-up and aggression in terms of hamlets and others that can still be seen at the LAC. So if that's a reality that India knows, but we're also seeing, quote-unquote, the softening stand, how crucial or how easy or difficult is it going to be for India to put their priorities in front of China?
So look, I think India has made it very clear that, as I said, Dr. Jaishankar has said this in numerous occasions, that the India-China bilateral relationship cannot go back to normal until we go back to the pre-April 2020 position. Now, there were 7 friction points, 5 of which we have seen disengagement, 2 of which we've not seen even that. And I'm really not sure if the Chinese are willing to disengage in those 2 points, which is the Tsang and Dimchok, because they are the plains. The other parts, whether it was Gogra Hot Springs or other friction points that we had, were not the plains. So I'm not even sure if the Chinese are willing to disengage from those points. Look, there are two options. Either we can continue trying, impress upon the Chinese, dialogue, put pressure, and try to get them to vacate from the incursions they made, or we accept this as new reality or the new normal. And I think the External Affairs Minister has made it very clear that there's no question of accepting this as the new normal.
Yeah.
Therefore, the pressure
Yeah. Zaka, we actually seem to be losing your audio. We'll try and re-establish that connection with Zaka Jacob.